One trick for navigating I wanted to show in case you're not aware of it. You're able, let's say you're dealing with John Smith as a customer and you want to look at the patterns. If you float your cursor over any of the tabs in the program and right click, you'll see a little menu here. And when I say open link in new tab, it then takes me to that other section of the program, and I can easily go back to where I was just by clicking on these tabs at the top. The language can get a little confusing because these are tabs up here. You might recognize the format from old manila file folders. These are tabs also within the program, but these down here I call sub-tabs. The confusion comes if I'm talking about this tab versus this tab. So I'll try to make that clear for you all there. Okay, a few people still arriving. All right. One other thing I have set up in here is the app. So we will be looking a little bit at the app even today as we talk about getting set up. Today we are covering basics in the program, and by that I mean what do you need to do to start moving forward in using CLIPitc. Some of this because we are the same programming company that's been in business 30 plus years and brought you CLIP software over that time. Some of our processes are the same. Those of you who've used earlier versions of CLIP will see that quickly, and I hope that will add to your comfort level in this. There are a couple of things you need to do very early on, and that is set up employees, and then also under customize, set up crews. The reason for this is this prepares us for the more critical and more important task of setting up patterns, specifically pattern jobs. And pattern jobs require you to assign crews to them, and those crews are required to have at least one body associated with it. We'll start with employees. So we come here to employee, and here's then a list of our employees. If you did come over from an earlier version of CLIP, your employee should have been converted to here. To add an employee, you just click New Employee, and it comes up with this screen. So we're going to just add the name of somebody. And really, this is the basic information you need to move forward. If you are feeling the press to get things set up, you don't have to go through the rest of this. You certainly can, including labor cost, that is how much you pay this person, because that is used in a report as we'll see on Thursday. You can add their birthday later, etc., pay type. So these screens should be fairly self-explanatory, and then you save. And now this person has been added to the list over here. Entering employees is important for a couple different reasons. One is you're able then, again, to add them to employee and to crews. Then when you're looking at history, you can see what actual employees were on any given job. Likewise, CLIP will give you what are called efficiency reports for employees, which compares the employee's clock time. They worked from 7 to 5, for instance, and that's what you're paying them for if you pay by the hour. It compares that to their production hours. So during those 10 hours that you're paying this employee, how many production hours did he have? And CLIP will give you reports like that. That's those are a couple advantages to setting up your employees. Once you have some employees set up, you then come to customize here and crew, or down here as well you see crew. One thing just in navigating, in a lot of these screens, like in the customize screen, you see the lists, etc., crew. So a lot of the setups are both across the top and along the side, so you can navigate either way. Okay, for crews, Here I've got these crews set up with different crew numbers, a description over here. The crew numbers are what are important because these allow you to, in several reports in CLIP, to run the report based on a crew number or range of crew numbers. We recommend you try to segregate these. For instance, that you put the maintenance crews together, like say 1 through 10, and even if you don't have 10 maintenance crews, you may add crews, so leaving some numbers available works. Then say your applicator is crew 10, you've got snow removal, trucks numbers or crew numbers are 20 and higher, etc. So trying to set those or keep those in groupings like that can help you later with reports. Within the crew then, you click edit and you get the list then of all of your employees, and you would double click on an employee and he will move over, or you can select someone and move them manually. And likewise, getting them off the crew is done that way as well. We recognize that a couple of things that could affect this. One is you may not know who's on the crew any given day, and managing this is really not that cumbersome, but it may be something you wish you didn't have to do. When you do use the app, which we recommend, in the app, the let me see if I can get this moved over. Hold on a second, sorry, my recording taskbar is affecting the way the app is, so hold on a second. Okay, the app's not letting me move over. Let me try to drop back and punt. Okay. Oh, there. Sorry, just my okay. All right, I won't worry you with my technical difficulties. I have an emulator that shows the app, and for some reason it went to full screen and won't let me undo it. So let me see if I can. Okay, now I think I should be able to get it for us. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here is the app, the Android version, and if you come here to the settings, we have Steve's maintenance crew, and we have then the crew folks listed here. If the crew varies day to day, which you can, it's very easy to manage it from here. So let's say Dave Barry is absent, I can remove him from the crew, click Add Employees, and put Robert Retford there. Now we have who's actually on the crew that day, and while the crew goes out and records work, then those employees will be associated with the services they do that day. That's how you can manage crews in the office, or from the office, what they put in there in the field. So again, we have talked about two different purposes here, or two initial things you need to do: set up employees and set up crews. Having done that, we can move then on to patterns. And so with the patterns, we have the ability then to set up templates. Now, the way the program works is that you add a customer, and then to set up the customer's services, you copy from the list of pattern jobs or pattern programs for turf application type services. Thus, creating the patterns is a time saver for you, as well as the benefit of giving you consistency in what you're setting up, because you're always copying from the same source, the list of pattern jobs. So that's a plus there, both of those things, saving time and having consistency in what you're doing. Okay, now we're going to look at the patterns here, and there are three patterns we want to concentrate on. There are actually four: pattern customers, pattern jobs, pattern programs, and pattern packages. We'll start with pattern customers. When you get a call from someone who's interested in paying for your services, they're typically from a limited number of cities, towns, or areas in your larger service area. Setting up pattern customers allows you to make it a little bit easier to add a new customer, because you can copy from a pattern where you already have certain information filled in. That means you don't have to remember to fill it in every time. Now, most critically, I would say, is that if you charge sales tax, having the sales tax set for that particular area. The sales tax may vary, or it does vary. Some places, some companies who use CLIP, they charge a state sales tax, and that's that. There are other places, and Ohio comes to mind, where the tax can vary based on which county or municipality the property is located in. And you may need to set up then several different tax areas. Copying from the pattern means that carries over the way you want it to. If it is also very easy to set up a customer just from scratch, because CLIP, working with Google Maps, will autofill a lot of the address information: street number, name, city, state, zip, etc. But if you get distracted and forget to flag the sales tax correctly, that could be a problem. All right, so I've got several set up here, and it's very easy. You just hit add, and then it gives you the form to populate here, and you can again change the tax. You can set the state, set the city, and you would call this, typically the pattern is called by the city's name there. So that allows you to set up your patterns. And so again, the most typical things would be the name of the pattern, perhaps a greeting. It's simply the word dear, because if you use this with mail merge, which we can do very easily, it can help format the letter correctly. Just throw in a random starting date, because you'll change this once it gets copied to the customer. Then again, address, tax rate, city, zip, state, country. Probably select that. You can put in an area code if that's predictable in this age of cell phones, and then just save and close this. The next section of patterns we'll look at are actually much more important. This is what's called pattern jobs. And the reason they're more important is, again, it will help you make it easier to set up customers, and also give you consistency, which is important for the reports in CLIP. And the process is you hit add. Now I'm going to set up a mowing job. I already have one called lawn maintenance, but I want to show you how to set this up in the pattern. And the thing to keep in mind about patterns is you want to use the common situation. In other words, you may have a few customers where you do mowing of the front yard only. And one way you can tell the crew what to do is not only in the notes, but you could append to the description mowing dash front yard only. You don't need a new pattern job for that. You can use the job mowing, and then for a specific customer, tweak the description a bit to communicate more clearly what's being done for that service. You don't want to tweak it to the sense that you change it from mowing to spring cleanup, because those are very different services. You want to kind of respect the mowing, but you could tweak again the description briefly. But let's go ahead and set this up. So I'm going to say mowing here. If I had my cursor located properly. There are categories and subcategories that you can set up. Not critical to do so initially, and it's very easy later to come back, set them up, and then update them in all of the jobs here. So we're going to ignore that. Job area, again, this is customer specific. This would be set up when you go into the customer specifically. Crew number, I would suggest just choosing one of your crews. You'll be right, some of the time, and that way you'll be able to just change it again at the customer level. Routing sequence number, again, this is customer specific, as are these other fields here, except pre-service notifications. If you want to typically send out an email or be notified this customer needs to get a phone call before you come, if that's typical for your mowing customers, you can go ahead and choose that here. This may be more common for fertilization or pest control type apps, but you can set this up here so that that's the default. Commission, if you do give a commission rate, you can then set that up. Let me see if it'll let me save this. Okay, so commission here, you may not want to set the employee, but your commission rate may be the same, whoever the employee is, so you could set that up in advance. Charge per job, that is set for the at the customer level. But one thing is, if you set this, say at $1, which you should know when you see it is not the correct price once it gets over to the customer, and let's say $50 per hour. Charge per hour serves two purposes. One is to calculate for jobs that are charge per hour jobs, so that would tell us how much you're charging for this service on an hourly basis. Likewise, it helps you know for this Calc 2 your goal. In other words, most companies can think of their labor rate and know that that's a key value to determine whether something's profitable or not. And the labor rate isn't just what you pay your employee with the labor burden, but it's really what you want to collect from the customer to cover all of the labor expenses as well as all of the expenses for the company or overhead, etc. Now, I put $1 in here, and the reason for this is when you go into the customer now and you go into this job, when you enter the price here, it will automatically calculate for you the budgeted time. So it saves you a couple steps of hitting Calc 2 and calculating that. So let me show you what that is. So let's say this is a $75 service. So I click and go get out of here. You know what? It's not. Oh, you know what? Because I didn't save it. Let me save it. So $75. All right. Well, that's embarrassing. I'm going to try that again once we get to the customer because it should have remembered this to calculate in the job, which it does. I mean, so you've got an hour and 30 minutes at $75. So we'll look at this again once we get to a real customer. Okay, so these are some of the job, and then, okay, bill type. What is the most common situation in your company? Is the most common that you have installments monthly for customers to pay, or that they pay for whatever services actually occur during the month? And it's probably not 100% one way or another, and sometimes it is, but just choose the more common situation. So in our world, the more common is that this is a charge per job. Right, and you flag it as taxable or not here. So we save this and we move on then to the schedule for the job. The question is, what's the most common mowing schedule you have? Now, in CLIP, there are a couple different schemes or types of scheduling. Automatic zone, and there's a third static, which is very rarely used. Automatic means once you assign a date to a job, this is when the schedule is, but it'll automatically reschedule based on what you have down here. We recommend that the do this job is set to 999, which means it will not go on hold. You sometimes use this for a particular customer. So if a customer calls you and says, we're selling our house and moving May 31st, you can stop services effective May 31st. Well, you can count ahead how many weeks is May 31st put it in here, and then this will count down. So let's say it's 3 more weeks till the 31st. You'd have this set to 3. You go out, you do the service, this rolls to 2, you do it again, it rolls to 1, you finally do it a third time, this goes to 0, and the job goes on hold automatically without you having to worry about going back out and servicing that property after the owners have moved out. Another way to manage that is start-stop services on specific dates. This is also useful for those of you who go through an end-of-year contract renewal for every customer, and you want at the end of the year everything to be on hold, and then you go in and manually restart each job as your customer contracts come in. Typically, I don't recommend using this. Frankly, I've seen more problems with it as far as affecting things showing up or not showing up on the schedule. And there are other ways to manage putting everyone on hold at the end of the year than doing it with this. But that's what it's there for. Again, we're building out this screen. Then if it's a weekly service, what we recommend is using make it at least 4 days between jobs. On this drop down, there's an option of once a week, which is similar but not quite identical, and we'll look at that in a moment, an illustration of that. Also, we say put 11 in here rather than having bi-weekly. Again, it's just a different way to get to the same result. The issue is if jobs need to be rescheduled because of a rain delay. So let me give you the illustration here. This job is scheduled to be done on a Friday. Okay. Now, if it's not done, let's say you have this set to once a week. The job shows up on Friday. You go out and perform the service. And then the job says, okay, it's been done this week. So it then throws it to next week. And notice the only place the job can land when being rescheduled is a day that is checked. Likewise, same with the months of the year too. Okay. You get to Friday the next week and it's raining. So you don't do the job Saturday or Sunday, but you do it on Monday. Well, what does the program do? The program says, oh, this job is to be done once a week. It was done this week on Monday, so I put it into next week and it reschedules on Friday, almost 11 days later, which probably is too much time to elapse. If you had this set up to make it at least 4 days between jobs, it would show up on Friday, you do the job, and it counts ahead 1, 2, 3, 4, and then sees the next flagged date or checked day is Friday, so it reschedules it for Friday. You get to that Friday, it's raining. You don't do the job Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You do it Monday, and then it counts ahead 4 days to reschedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it reschedules it then for the next Friday, keeping it then a more reasonable schedule. But likewise, if you don't get to it till Wednesday and it counts ahead 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll pass Friday and go into the next week instead of having you go there Wednesday and then again on Friday. And you could tweak this to 3 days or even 2 days possibly if that's what you prefer to tolerate as far as the scheduling scheme there. Now, again, we're in the pattern, so we're doing the more typical, and we don't know what day of the week is yet. That will be done at the customer level. And so we've got this here. And again, you've got other options here. Next month, next week, one time only, or next year, one time only for different jobs. So we save this. So here we now have the pattern schedule set up. Material, you have the option of adding a material to the jobs. Now, just to show you where those are set up, and this is something, again, you can do relatively early in the setup process. There's back under Customize, you have over here Material. Then here's your material list. We want to add bagging as needed to each of our mowing services, so I'll put that in the pattern. I hit Add Material. Here's my list. So I do bagging as needed, and 1 will be the default quantity there. Or actually maybe set it at 0 because you want it to be available to the crew or to you in the office, but you don't want it to uh, automatically populate. So we hit add material, close. So here now is the material that we've got here. All right, what we've done is we have set up now a pattern job. And this will, again, as you'll see in a little bit, will make it easier to set up a customer's. Okay, now I'm going to set up a different pattern job. All right, I don't know if this saved. Let me see if I forgot something here. Oh, I'm going to add another. Okay, this job is going to be ice melt. So we will do this job number 200, and then the job description, ice melt. Again, price will be unique to the customer. My main purpose in doing this is to show you what zone scheduling looks like. So as we said, we've got different scheduling schemes here. And again, bill type, this will be mostly charge per job. All right, so I come into schedule here, and I change this from automatic to zone. Now notice what happens. All the calendar, days of the week, next scheduled visit date, all of that disappears. I'll still want this to be 999. Now, the zone scheduling allows you to add this job manually, meaning that when it's time to pull up a snow-related service, since you don't know when it's going to snow, and when it snows you don't know when it's going to snow again, the scheduling options in the calendar, the automatic, like we saw for mowing, are not, you don't know. That doesn't make a good sense to set them by date. There are ways you can manipulate that process though, but what we recommend is what's called zone scheduling. So by hitting zone scheduling, and then I'm not going to do this because we'll look at this more tomorrow, but just to briefly tell you, when you're in the daily get work section, you can pull things by date, but you can also activate zone jobs. And this means you can pull up the jobs that are assigned to a zone, and by selecting them and hitting activate, it'll put them on the schedule. That's then the way you manage snow removal, because it may snow today, it may not snow again for 10 days, it may snow 3 days in a row. So again, a zone schedule is a better way to manage that. Okay, so having added a couple pattern jobs, we're going to look then at pattern programs. Pattern programs, which we also call as programs and rounds, this is a way for you to create a group of your applications together. When you add the group, also known as the program, to the customer, all the jobs will come along with it. So we'll just look at one I've set up. Again, it's very, to just go back. Sorry, let me go back one screen for this. So you'd hit add to start the setup process. All right, we have here what we call the Silver Turf Plan, or Turf 5, and it actually has 6 applications. The default terminology, it goes round 1, round 2, etc. here, and then you can edit the name of the application here. Again, similar, you would assign it to a crew. Many of these are customer specific. You're able to create what's called a price sheet to help you with the pricing. So we look at the price sheet, and what this does, it allows you, based on square footage, to calculate what the price is and how many budgeted man hours you have for the job. And to recreate, this shows you what the setup is. So you might have a fixed price there, a minimum charge, and a fixed man hours. And then here you can put in that from 0 to 5,000 square feet, your price is $5.60 per thousand. From 5 to 10, it's $5.30, and 10,000 to 150,000 is $5.10, and man hours. And so once you generate this, it will then show you what your pricing is for different square footage, different job areas. Then when you set up a customer and you enter the job area, it will automatically calculate the price for you for that. So that's another way to do the pricing. Many of you may already have a price sheet you've used, and it can be just as easy to enter the price for the applications in the customer. And we'll look at this again more detail once we show how to add this to the customer. The scheduling scheme with this is also zone scheduling. That means you look outside and it's time to do the early spring application. You go through not that activate zone jobs, but there's an activate rounds button back here. So activate rounds, and this then shows you your different packages. You grab a couple packages and then you choose here the round you want, round 1, and then you can sort by zip code, so if you only want to go within a limited zip code area, or you can create physical zones and just go within those physical zones. Next shows you then all the customers, and we'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Okay, all right, now we've got then the pattern jobs, or pattern customers, pattern jobs, pattern programs. And those actually are all in our older program. So if you're coming over from an earlier version of CLIP, this should be fairly familiar to you. Next thing we want to say about patterns are what are called pattern packages, because this is a little bit new here. Packages serve two purposes. One is to group together jobs based on how they are paid for. So I've got a maintenance paper service and a maintenance installment package here. I also have a commercial maintenance. Now within these packages, you can pre-assign or preload certain jobs. That means if you always are selling, like in the case of a residential account, they call you and you say, they ask for mowing, and you say, well, we don't just do mowing, we also want to make sure we do a spring and fall cleanup so everything looks very nice. And also in some companies they may require that the mowing customer also gets their turf care program, but those can be set up in advance here. That means when you add this package to the customer, all the jobs are already there. Once you're at the customer level, you can add or take away jobs if it doesn't quite match what's in the package, but at least it's done some of the work for you. Now you set up a package by going to pattern package and hit add. So I want to set up what I'm going to call a residential pay per service. So I want to call it residential and then pay per service. And by the way, your customers do not see this. They don't see the title of this, and so I would then hit save. Now I'm going to keep this empty. So this is going to be for customers, residential customers who might call me and want some work done outside of what they're paying for with the installment. If I did want to add jobs, I could click add jobs here, and this now is showing me my list of pattern jobs. One other thing, kind of from a navigation point of view, you're able, when you're seeing lists in CLIP, to click on the column heading and sort by that column. Here we have that's sorted now numerically. And you've got 2 5s here because one is a program and one is a job there. You can also click on job and sort alphabetically, either A to Z or Z to A there. And you can also search by the name of a job if you need to find one. Okay. All right. So back here under patterns, just to recap, the purpose of patterns is to make it easier and ensure consistency when you're setting up your accounts, your customers, and all. All right, with that in mind, let's go to the next stage, which is setting up now a job. Again, to recap, we've looked at setting up employees, under customize, setting up crews, and we took a glance at setting up a material list. Patterns, we looked at setting up pattern customers, a couple different types of pattern jobs, a zone schedule and automatic schedule service. Looked at the pattern programs for programs and rounds. Likewise, we've looked at pattern packages. Oh, I want to show you one more thing under pattern program. Within the program and within a given round, you can preset materials here. That means that when you copy this into a customer, the materials that are required come along with it. If something happens, let's say your herbicide is declared is made illegal to use, you can come into the pattern, check that off, and hit delete material from all rounds, and it would then remove that from all your customers. You could also add a new material and update all rounds, which would push that out, the new material out to all the customers. So that way you're able to manage from the pattern excuse me, your materials and changes as they should occur. To add a new customer, you go to the Customers tab here, and in the Customers tab, you then go to New Customer here. And this brings you up to your list of pattern customers. Now again, you're able to select one of these, and so we'll select Frederick here, and I hit select, and now the Frederick pattern pops up, and notice it's got Frederick, the state, the partial zip code here, and it has, I didn't set my tax rate there, so it's not showing my tax rate, but there it's easy enough to correct. All right, so this is going to be David Hume, and he's becoming a customer today. I can do a care of if that's relevant. Source. This is actually a very nice feature. You're able to create a list of sources. He came to us via internet search, and you can add to this source the list here. This allows you to show where this customer came from, and CLIP has a built-in report showing you not only who came from what source, but it also will total up the revenue from that source. That way, as you're looking ahead to 2022 and doing budgeting for marketing, you can see where you got the most value last year or over the last few years. Okay, and then we come down to enter the address here. Now I'm going to do 789 West. Now notice what's happening. As I'm typing, you're seeing addresses appear. That's one reason I said why using the pattern customer is not quite as useful as it might have been, because but now with Google Maps it's going to actually see, there it is. So 789 West Patrick Street, Frederick, Maryland. I don't have to continue typing. I just click here, and so it populated the zip correctly, city and state. And now I hit save. Alright, so now I've got the customer in here, so I can put his email here. I'll actually just put mine in there in case we want to see what emails look like. And you put a name here, so, and you've got room for 3 more emails here, plus under more contacts you've got room for additional folks. So if you've got a large organization you're dealing with, you're should be able to track all the contacts. And this is then where you flag that this customer wants his bill emailed to him. You can also flag that he wants a pre-service and post-service, any of those notifications, to go to this email address. Down here you now have the phone field, so you can come in here if these weren't set up in the pattern. You can set those up. Oh, that didn't look good. Some of these are pretty particular about formatting, so you need to keep an eye on that. Oh. So, um, so there you've got the phone numbers in there. You also have here account notes and statement notes. Account notes correspond to what was called the notes field in the old version of CLIP. Let me just show that to you real. Oh no, never mind. That's on the other screen. But that's under the customer. There's a notes tab, and this would then carry over to account notes. In here, you can put random information that's important to know when you're looking at this screen about this account and this customer. Statement notes are notes that appear on the bill when it's printed, and we'll see that later. So I'll just put in here statement notes so we know where that's coming from when we look at a bill on Wednesday. So we'll finish saving this. Okay, we've got now the basic customer information set up. To continue, you would come over to properties. Now, this address here is the billing address. If you have integrated with QuickBooks, this would be the bill to address from QuickBooks. Under properties, this is the property address where work is done. If for David Hume there's a different location, I can change the address here to that location. This is the address the crew sees on the route sheets or in the app when they're going to provide service. So if we come back to the app, you see it here. So there's the Paul Townsend is on 308 North Market Street in Frederick. Again, so the crew sees it on the app or on a paper route sheet. You can over here say what kind of property it is, residential or commercial. You can put some notes in here. These notes are designed to appear on the route sheet whenever this customer is on the schedule. The job notes we'll look at in a bit only appear when that job is on the schedule. Likewise, and this is new, you need to flag the property is taxable. I mean, if the customer is taxable, most likely the property is. You probably don't have taxable individuals who own a church or a hospital that might not be taxed. So this is something you would have to remember to mark. And then down here, you come and you add the package. It comes preloaded with what's called a default package. If you're just starting from scratch as far as adding jobs to an account and don't really have a package that you've already got set up, you can just go ahead and change the description here and set up the package here. But we'll go ahead and we'll hit add for this, and when we hit add, it takes us to our packages. What we're going to set up for David Hume is a residential paper service and a maintenance installment, because he's going to pay us a monthly installment, but we want to be prepared to add on services if he calls for those. So I click add. I'll show you, hit add and close, hit X. Okay, so here are the new packages. Now, having added these packages, I can delete this default package there. Alright, so residential paper service and a maintenance installment. So notice in each of these packages you have a charge by. So this one is charged by job info. We don't have to do anything else right at this level. This one is the maintenance installment. We have now the different months of the year, and I can put in here what our installment is going to be, $325, and hit fill all months. This isn't year round, so I just can come in and then delete the 4 months where we're not charging that. This gives us a running total here. I can put whether or not we charge taxes on the installment. We'll go ahead and do that. This is flagged installment never expires. That means that I don't do a contract renewal each year unless something changes and I need to raise their price, for instance. Again, in your case, you may need to put in here then an end of contract date. Likewise, these fields can appear on a report. If you want to, if you have contracts that expire throughout the year, at the first of the month, you can look at what's expiring that month or over the next 60 or 90 days through custom reports. But this is set up the way I need it. And by the way, notice here the jobs that were part of this installment have come over for me, so that saves me a little bit of setup. Having set those up, I now hit save. Now, one thing. Let me see if I got this saved all right. Anything I'm missing? Oh, there it saves changes. Oh, okay. So what it's telling me is that the installment had jobs that were flagged as charge per job. I want to save those too, including contracts. So the program does that for me. All right, one thing which is, I think, a little odd, but be that as it may. If you want the phone numbers to appear on the paper route sheet or in the app, those phone numbers need to be set up here under contact person information. These phone numbers are what appear for the crew to see. Just FYI, maybe the naive assumption on my part was that the phone numbers on the on the company screen or main screen, back here under general would appear, but no, they're the ones under contact person are the ones. And that's logical, because if a call needs to be made by the crew to someone, you want to make sure they have the right contact person to call and contact. Okay, next, jobs. We have these two packages. Now, often when you click on jobs there, it throws you to this screen. You have pattern jobs, but let's close that. Okay, so we're going to start with the installment here. So maintenance installment, and here are the services. I come in and I can put my prices in here. Now the customer, because this didn't change it says including contract, he won't see this price. He'll see the installment on the bill. But you're able to put a price in here for then job costing purposes. And here now is how that would be. So I wanted to make $50 an hour. It's a $65 charge. So it is an hour and 18 minutes to do this service. This gives a goal to the crew, and if they come in under an hour 18, you are making more than $65 an hour, or more than your $50 an hour. If he comes in over this, you're making less. So then you come down here, it's actually being done by Dave's maintenance crew. The day of the week will be Tuesday. Come up here and you want it to start on March 15th. One thing you're able to do, and this is for those of you who are in the warmer places in the United States. Let me save what I've got so far. You're able to do what's called a variable schedule. In some parts of the country, they work year-round in lawn maintenance. They may not visit every week year-round, but they do visit every month. Variable schedule enables you to automatically change the frequency of a job. This job on March 29th will go to weekly, and then on October 15th will go to bi-weekly. So let me show you what that looks like. And to do so, I've got to make sure, yep, all the days are checked, months are checked. Okay, I come here then to view schedule. And here we are bi-weekly starting in March, but then it flips to weekly through October, then back to bi-weekly. And as you may have noticed, in this screen you've got several changes you can do. And we've had some companies, I remember one in the just north of Houston who wanted 8 or 12 different variations in the schedule as his season went on. This will accommodate a bunch of those. You can also use it not to change the schedule as much, but to change the budgeted hours. That means that perhaps in the spring you'll allow them a little bit longer time to perform a service because chances are it might be wet from rains. But then during the summer you want to give them a faster goal to hit, and then you could have the date changes here. Ignore this area and just put in then the times you want for them to perform that service there. All right, so that's variable schedule. We've got the job materials here. I'm going to actually turn this off and put this at weekly. And again, I'm in Maryland, so I'm going to come in and turn off some of these months. The next thing you would do with a job, or one of the things you do as you're setting it up, is to give notes. So these are the notes section associated with the job. Route sheet notes are pretty standard. That's what you tell the crew, or the crew sees, so they do a good job on this. So we're going to say, trim behind the air conditioning unit. Sorry, my spelling is not very good today. Oh, there we go. And you can translate it into Spanish. If you are using the app, you can also add a picture, an audio file, or even a short video. That would be helpful in telling the crew what they need to do here. Then you come up to the top and save and close. So now you've entered those notes. Other notes here. Invoice notes are notes that go in front of the customer. If you want to tell the customer more about this service, and when you record work, as we'll see tomorrow, you can tell them more about a specific visit, you do so through invoice notes. Internal notes are just notes for your use in the program in-house. These could be price increases, for instance. At the top, you have limited route sheet notes. These are for a situation where the customer calls you with a special request. Let's say they're going to have an outdoor wedding later in the year, and so they want to make sure that everything looks great. You can set a date when you want these notes to start showing up and a date when they can drop off the notes for the crew to see, and then how many times you want these notes to appear. This way you can set, again, special notes for a special event and not have to remember to go in and delete them or turn them off afterwards. Okay, then again you do the same with spring cleanup, fall cleanup, etc. Now I've got the second package here. So this is where the customer calls with a service that isn't covered by the installment. To add that, you come here to the package, and notice there are no jobs yet associated with it. You click Add. Now here's your list of pattern jobs. We're going to call this, we'll just say bush trimming. He notices some of his bushes are getting kind of out of control, and he wants you to come and start doing this, but he knows it's not part of the contract. So you can come in here, click Add and Close. Here's the job, charge per job, and then you can put what the price is here. You can assign it to the detail crew. Come down here, not one time only, we're going to make this monthly. We wanted it to show up during the middle during the middle of the month. And we'll do this on, really don't care when Jorge gets to it, so you can choose any day of the week here, and this will be done March through October. we save it. I'm going to fix the date on this. Okay. Now the program can give you suggestions. If you have chosen a date or something that doesn't match the schedule, it will suggest a new date for you. So we look at the schedule here, and here it is then, starting in July through October. And again, you can manipulate this if need be. So we're going to actually start it in April. Alright, so now we have shown how you add a customer and how you add jobs and to the customer, as well as the program packages. Again, packages are new for those of you who have our older programs, but it's something that I think it will be convenient, particularly in allowing you to set these packages up in advance as patterns and then add them to the customer with services already contained in them. Okay, let's look at some of the rest that's in the customer section, then we'll pause for questions. Okay, so adjust package. The customer next year says they want to include bush trimming in the installment. You can click on it and move it over for that. So it just allows you to change, to manipulate what's in the packages. Estimates. This is a new part of CLIPitc. And this allows you then to create an estimate for the customer. So we're going to call this estimate. And then you come here from your list of services, you choose what you're going to propose to him. So we're going to propose some irrigation services. So I choose those here, click Add Selected Services to Estimate. Now they're on here, and I hit Edit to set up more detail. So I put in the pricing. So an irrigation startup would be $75. I can give it budgeted man hours, so I want it to be 1 hour. I can add travel time, job area if that's relevant, and if it's taxable, I'll put the tax in. Okay, then I just go through and do this for each one. So the winterization is actually going to be $110. Again, I'll do an hour for this. Taxable, save. And irrigation repair. Actually, I'm not going to put a price in there because that varies, although we do have a minimum of $50 for that. Okay, and I can add materials here. If I have materials I want to have associated, I put down my average company cost per man hour. So my cost per man hour is about $27.50. Dollar per man hour goal for irrigation is 65, and then it can give me some more projected. And I save this. Alright, now I've got a couple of options here. I can print it, and under options I can also like hide individual charges, which would be these. I could hide unit costs from customer if I wanted to. And I can set some email templates. So this is where you might just have boilerplate type information about your irrigation services. That would be in the body of the email. Then there would be a link to this estimate if you emailed it to your customer. You can also come in here and print it from here. Frankly, it's kind of ugly, but it is what it is, and we're talking to development about trying to make it pretty or allow it to, there are other ways to do an estimate through a mail merge with Word and Excel, but we can touch on that on Thursday. And then if you email it, there is a link in the email for the customer to accept and give you a electronic signature. When he does that, you are notified through what are called the to-dos, which we'll look at in a moment, but I will show you how you're notified. When you first log into CLIP, it takes you to this dashboard, and this orange bar are notifications of to-dos. So here is, let me see, here's an example, Mural Gradient estimate accepted by the customer. That's how you'll be notified if they click on the accept in the emailed estimate you send them. Okay, continuing through the, there's a report showing you the different statuses of your estimates, so you can follow up on them in a timely manner. And when it is accepted, these services will automatically be populated for the customer. You don't have to then go in and set them up. You can go in and fine-tune them as necessary, but they would be set up under the customer's jobs. I mentioned the to-dos. To-dos are the equivalent of what we call the CMS in other versions of CLIP. This is a reminder system. So you get a call from David Hume, and he has a compliment. And you may want to be reminded of this before your next employee meeting on the 20th. And then you put notes in here. Jose did a great job, and you assign it to yourself or someone else in the organization. And then on the 20th, this is going to pop up, and I'm reminded then to commend Jose during the meeting. And when I'm done, I just hit completed, and then it's done and will disappear. I mean, it's still in this, it's still in his history here, but it will no longer show up for me. History, we don't have any yet, but this is where you would see history for the customer. We'll be looking at this in other situations throughout these classes. Documents. Documents allow you to scan or save different documents to the customer. You can drag them from your computer. You can select files to upload. It just gives you the ability to put in one place then relevant documents for a customer. Scan contracts, perhaps you are used to doing your estimates out of QuickBooks, you can scan them then here. And what's nice again about having an online software, you're able to see those wherever you're located, even on your phone if you're out in the field. Invoices, this would be a list of all of the invoices. This is true whether you integrate with QuickBooks or not. This particular version is not integrated with QuickBooks. And when we cover billing on Wednesday, you'll see in the version of my copy that is integrated with QuickBooks how this populates with invoices that you create. And then custom fields. This is a new part of the program. This allows you to, so we now have these custom fields set up. So you're able to say, okay, so Dudley Do-Right is going to be the account manager here, and the turf type they have is St. Augustine. And we then save it, and now we're able to pull reports showing this information. The fields themselves are set up, so if we get out of here and go to Customize, you see it over here under custom fields, or if you look at this list here, custom fields. So this is where you can add custom fields. And you've got a different, so you go to add, you put a name here for the custom field, and then you put what you want that to be. The two examples we looked at in the customer's account were a drop down, but you could have a text where you write something numeric, where you put a dollar value or a numeric value, date, so, and then a tag is a field from within the program. You can have that associated with it. So you got a variety of different types of custom fields you can add. And again, those are back here under customer, custom fields. Okay, well, that's it as far as what I wanted to cover. We've got a little bit of time left. Please use the chat, and if you have any questions about what we've been talking about here, or if you just have questions about ITC, please go ahead and chat with us. Maybe everyone's busy typing away. So far, nothing has popped up. For tomorrow's class, you can use the same link that you received. I'll probably send a reminder to everyone tomorrow morning about the class without necessarily including that link, because that information shouldn't change from day to day this week. All right, Susan, is there a chance that the statements notes be made to enter more information than just the one line? At this point, no. So let me suggest that to development. And if you could send me a sample of what you'd like it to do or the rationale for that, that would be great. And Susan, my email is billc@clip.com. So shoot me an email. I'll still suggest to development, but they always like to hear the business rationale. Is there an area to include garage gate code so the crews can see? Okay. Rob, great question. You can do that in one of two places. So within the customer, under properties, this route sheet notes section will show up for the crew to see. You can also put that kind of information in the job under the notes for the job, or the route sheet notes here. And yes, on properties, the notes will show on the route sheet. That's correct. Now, it may not show on every style of route sheet. You'll have to maybe experiment a little bit, because you've got, as we'll see tomorrow, about a half dozen different styles to choose from. Is there a way to measure the lot size for the customer address? Unfortunately, not built in at this stage, but let me add that. I know that development's aware of that request. We do link to Google Maps, but the way we link doesn't show their measurement tool. So let me just do a reminder for development for that. Okay. Maureen, will there be another chance for employees to get in on this class that you are performing that were unable to attend today? Well, they can attend the rest of this week. We are recording these, and so we'll need to, they'll be able to see those when they're up on YouTube. Probably the next set of classes won't be until February. I'm traveling the end of this month for about 2 weeks doing site visits and other things, so I won't have time for that. But we may have one of our other staff conduct one of these, but I'm still working on that. But yes, there certainly can just forward them the email for the rest of this week if they're able to attend later. Okay, Tim. Choosing taxable, will that make all things taxable, or just make it so we can check off what is, such as material or labor tax in Maryland is not taxable? Yes, good question. So the taxable settings, just to review, so under the general tab for the customer, you'd have a tax rate set up here. In the properties, you'd have the tax here. In the jobs, so let's come to this one, you have the tax here, but in the material, you would not have this taxable, but you could in the material have the material be taxable, which is shown here for taxable. So yes, you should be able to, if you have all those linked together, you can choose at the job and material level which are taxable and which are not for that. How do you delete a duplicate entry into history before the invoice is printed? All right, let me go into a different customer. Let me see if Acme has something like that. All right, so in history, we have this not invoiced. So and you select a line here, and then the details are down below. So this is an example of a service we did that has not been invoiced yet. Notice here it can be deleted. And when you delete it, it deletes it. It doesn't just set it up to be rebilled. It removes it from customer history. So if you've got 2 in there inadvertently, you can delete it. If it's been billed, under Invoices, so let's say we've got this paid invoice here and we need to fix it. Let me just view it. So I view the invoice. Here's what's on this invoice. So let's say the house check I needed to charge for. Well, but it's been billed. So what I can do is if I delete the invoice, that content we saw a moment ago will go back to be invoiced again, and I can then put an amount in the house check and re-invoice it. Or you could delete the history item or what have you. If it has been invoiced and you remove the invoice, you've got all the abilities to edit it you had before it was invoiced for that. Okay, how do I send to QuickBooks the new customer info? When you set up a new customer, okay, let me pause for a second. Okay, we'll look more at this on Wednesday in billing, but for those of you who integrate with QuickBooks Desktop, these are the kind of the rules that apply now, which are slightly different than with CLIPitc. First, all your customers in both programs will synchronize. That means inactive accounts in QuickBooks will come over to Clip, and on-hold customers or customers that you had not sent to QuickBooks before will go over to QuickBooks. Second, you can set up new customers in either program. And when they're set up then in Clip, when you synchronize, that customer information will then set up the QuickBooks account. If it's set up in QuickBooks, when you synchronize, it will then set up the account in CLIPitc. Third, and this is new, if you need to edit customer information, a customer calls with a new phone number or a different email address, that needs to be set up in QuickBooks. Then when you sync, it will come to CLIPitc. With CLIPitc, we look at QuickBooks as being the yardstick. And if it doesn't measure up, then whatever QuickBooks says is what we'll maintain in CLIPitc. In CLIPitc, the Office program, if you changed the phone number in Clip, you could hit a button and it would update it in QuickBooks. Now it needs to be updated only in QuickBooks in order for it to go to ITC. If you did change it in ITC, next time you sync, the information from QuickBooks would just override it anyway for that. Now, if you use QuickBooks Desktop, there is a web connector tool called Web Services that you have to trigger from within QuickBooks. Now, I don't have that with me now to show you, but tomorrow I'll see if I can have that up to illustrate that. Okay. Brett, 1 hour, 18 minutes. That 1 hour and 18 minutes, or is it tenths of an hour? You're able to choose now. In CLIPitc, the time setting was decimal. So 30 minutes was 0.5 hours. Here under customized time setting, you can decide whether you want it to be hours or decimal, and it will calculate it and show to the crew accordingly. Under weekly work, why do you type in 4 days per week and not 7 days? Dee Dee, that is to allow Clip to reschedule when there might have been a delay in that job. So a Friday job that's just done on Monday, if you do 7 days between jobs, it would pass by Friday of that week because that's less than 7 days, and it would throw it into Friday the next week, which would be almost 2 weeks later, which is typically too long. 4 days would throw it into the Friday of that week. So if you got a delayed job from Friday to Monday, it would reschedule for that Friday with the 4 days in there. When do you think we'll be able to edit the route sheet headers? I will follow up with development and see if I can get you a time for that before these classes are done this week. So let me make a note. Okay, So Bruce, I'll get that information as soon as I can. There's a way to get our logo onto the estimate pages. That's been talked about. I'm not sure if that's done yet, so let me just follow up on that. I know you can have your logo on um, the invoice, but let me just check and see if there's a way to do that. All right. Is there a way to, is it possible to get a program manual? Like what one thing you can do, a resource for you inside the program, is this question mark in the upper right. You click on that and this takes you then to our help desk. And this first page is useful because you've got here videos. So this would give you, if I open this in a new tab, so here now are a list to a bunch of videos for that we keep on YouTube. If you scroll down farther, getting started, here's a new user tutorial. Now this is basically all of the you know, articles for everything. So if you are like me that you prefer to read things and watch videos, this would give you a good introduction. And you could choose to print out whatever you wanted from these if you prefer to have a paper copy of that. When taking a call in customer who wants analysis of lawn, you have to set up all the information under new customer and send it to your field manager to look at. Jackie, that's a good question. One thing you could do, let's say you've got your field managers set up like customers here. I mean, they may not really be customers, or they may. What you could do then is, so let's say Bart Simpson is your field manager. You can have him set up in here, but then you can, in to-dos, come in, create a task, and then you would type in the customer name and address here, plus whatever notes, and then you'd send it out to Bart in this case here with whatever needs to be. So it could be an estimate here. Then you'd say Joe DiMaggio, 123 Main Street, Lockport, estimate for irrigation system, and then you could put his phone number, email address there. And this way you don't have to really set up the customer yet as a customer, but you can then create the appointment with your staff and then send it to the staff via email. So if I save this now, okay, email CMS. So this would then email this information to me or to Bart Simpson or whoever, and then you'd also have this set up within the customer, and then you'd be able to follow up on it through the reports related to to-dos. Do the job sheet notes still show up on all jobs? This is where we put information like the job sheet notes do not show up for all jobs, but the property, these route sheet notes here under the properties section will show up. Now again, it shows up on the route sheet, but I'm not sure if it's all styles of route sheet. I'll have to do an analysis of that. So let me just see. So what I'll do is alright, so we'll save this and see if we can track down where those show up for tomorrow. How do you synchronize CLIPItc with QuickBooks and vice versa? Okay, let me see if I can get QuickBooks up. Now this is related to QuickBooks Desktop. This is not how it syncs with QuickBooks Online. So give me a moment to QuickBooks to open QuickBooks. Okay, Maureen, you're asking about a conversion where notes did not synchronize. I suggest you talk to support about that, or shoot them a note to support@clip.com so they can take a look at it. They should still have a copy of your clip XE, and so if you could point out a specific customer from XE where those notes are, and then where you expected them to be in CLIPITc, we can work on that with you. All right, so the way you synchronize, now let me just to give you a preview of Wednesday. So when you do your billing here, so we come to invoice and we come down to print, edit individual invoices. We check off what we want to invoice, and you can check all. And if you then if you integrate with QuickBooks, this button says generate. So when you check this off and hit generate, it will then push information out based on what you've selected from Clip, but it needs to then be pulled into QuickBooks, and that's done in QuickBooks under File and Update Web Services. Now you may have another label here, then the submenu contains Update Web Services. I forget, it's app, I think App Management is what it says in newer versions of QuickBooks. You come here to Update Web Services either like this or in the newer versions under your App Management options, and it then pulls up this. So here you can see I've got my CLIPITc. I check this box and hit Update Selected. Then that information I sent out from CLIPITc will be pulled into QuickBooks. This web connector was developed by Intuit to work with QuickBooks and online programs like Clip, so they integrate smoothly without having to try to figure out some third-party software to use that could have its own trouble. So this is supported and developed by QuickBooks or Intuit for that. That's how you synchronize. And when I hit Update Selected, not only does it pull in and create the invoices, but it will send over any new customers or from QuickBooks to Clip, updates and phone numbers, etc. So that's a quick overview of the process that we'll look at again on Wednesday. Okay, we are about out of time, so let's wrap it up. Again, we'll be meeting same time tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central, noon Eastern Time. And this will, for our second class, which will look at daily routines, scheduling, printing route sheets, recording work. So, folks, have a great afternoon or morning, depending on where you're located. And I look forward to talking with you tomorrow.